So, I'm Jim White. I'm the ED of NAO. Thank you all for being here tonight for our annual meeting. Really appreciate you sharing your time with us today. And thank you for those of you who were able to attend the nonprofit track day today as part of the Alliance for Nonprofit Management Conference. And for those of you who are here with the Alliance, I know they're also having their member meeting right now, but I appreciate that you're splitting your time between the member meetings. How many people were here this morning as part of the conference? Can we just see a show of hands? Okay, great. Okay, that's not too bad. Well, it's okay. I wanted to welcome you, and I also wanted to thank some of the folks who have been instrumental. Where do I point this? It's on, so where do I point it? There it is. Okay. I want to thank our sponsors for this annual meeting, without whose assistance we wouldn't be able to bring this to you this evening, and their continued support of our work throughout the year is invaluable to what NAO does for all of you and for nonprofits all throughout Oregon. I also want to thank our foundation sponsors who supported us this last year through 2015. You can see their names up here. We're very proud to have a very rich mix of organizations representing philanthropy who support NAO throughout the year, and we look forward to a continued long collaboration with them as we move forward into our future. I believe most of you know what NAO does, but I'm just going to take a few seconds to give you an idea. We grew out of tax, and Kay is sitting over there. If you raise your hand there, Kay. We grew out of Technical Assistance for Community Services, founded in 1977. Wonderful organization that's been serving nonprofits here in Oregon and beyond for many, many years. In 2010, we became the state association for Oregon, representing Oregon's nonprofit sector and strengthening the collective voice, the leadership, and the capacity of nonprofits throughout Oregon to enrich the lives of all Oregonians. We live our mission every day. We value the work that we do with and for all of you, and we appreciate your continued support of our work throughout the year and our connections out to other organizations. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. But before I get into some of the comments I'm going to make later, I wanted to bring up our Vice Chair, Nancy Ramirez Arriaga, to introduce to you a special keynote speaker.
Different height here. Good evening, everyone. We are pleased to have Beth Cantor join us for our keynote presentation session on happy, healthy nonprofits, creating a culture of replenishment. I personally had the opportunity to spend the afternoon with Beth, so I know that she draws from a wealth of experience. She has worked in the nonprofit sector for over 30 years and has trained thousands of nonprofits around the world. She's recognized internationally for her expertise in developing effective capacity building programs and for facilitating peer learning. She's the author of Beth's blog, one of the longest running and most popular blogs for nonprofits, and she has been recognized by Fast Company magazine as one of the most influential women in technology. She's the co-author of 2 books, The Networked Nonprofit and Measuring the Networked Nonprofit, and is a frequent contributor to many websites, blogs, magazines, and books. Please join me in welcoming Beth Cantor.
Thank you for that nice introduction. Hello, how is everyone? That's good. I didn't hear you. Okay, you should be great because you had some wine, right? Right? Okay, so I have to see from the podium, I have to see how many were here this morning and heard my talk. Okay, so how many of you believe that repetition is a good thing? Okay, so you're going to hear some of the same things, but I've also had this opportunity after the keynote to have this really lively conversation with the room, and then 3 hours of a deep dive, and I see a couple of people who were in the design lab, where I learned a bit more. So as I go through this, I'm going to improvise some additional insights that I heard throughout the day. So I'm going to share with you some working ideas from my next book, The Healthy, Happy Nonprofit, Strategies for Impact Without Burnout. And that's a working title. I will be co-authoring it with Elisa Sherman. And one thing is, when authors usually talk about their books, they do it after it's been written and published. But I just signed the contract a couple weeks ago. Okay, so, and it's not to say I haven't been thinking about this, and it is the next evolution of my work in technology and networks and training. And so I'm really grateful to have this chance to kind of think out loud, and that you really have the chance to inform what's in the book. And if you have stories, if you have ideas, I'm using sort of this keynote opportunity as a way to crowdsource from you some of your ideas. So if there is some repetition, I apologize for that, but it'll help spark. You can be part of this book. When this idea, I think, has come as a natural evolution of the work I've been doing over the last 25 years. I had a front row seat at the creation of a field, how nonprofits can use the internet for mission-driven work. And so back of course, in 2003, I was an early adopter of social media, and that's when I started my blog, Beth's Blog. And the reason I started my blog is because I was learning a lot about this new technology, and I was so excited about it, I wanted to share what I was learning in real time, including mistakes. And so I started this blog basically as a diary, and I didn't realize that other people were reading it until people started commenting, and I said, I better go look at the subscribers. And then there were like 5,000 people subscribed, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I started getting comments like, wow, you've saved me so much time, it's really helpful. So I thought, well, I'll just stick to this kind of learning out loud and sharing knowledge in the spirit of building community. So 2003, I started blogging, and not a lot of nonprofits had embraced social media. And there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of skepticism, and we were just at this dawn of the age of connectivity. And so if you fast forward a couple of years to the Arab Spring, that's 2009. That was during my first month as visiting scholar at the David and Lucille Packard Foundation. And I remember it really turned everybody's heads, because they said, wow, this network-centric approach to social change, wow, there's some real possibility here. Little do we know, just a few years later, we'd had the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and we'd have repeated stories of how being connected is really transforming our society. I mean, we heard at how many were here at lunchtime for the keynote, Black Lives Matter? Of course, a lot, I'm not saying the whole reason, but I think being connected in social media was a big part of that. So we fast forward to 2012, and this is when N10, who's also an Oregon nonprofit, I think voted one of the best nonprofits to work at. They did a networking study with Blackballed, and they found that 93% of nonprofits had adopted at least one social networking platform. Can you guess what that is? Yes. Fast forward to 2015, we have the Digital Outlook study, and 88% of nonprofits have a strategy for their social media channels. And that's almost as popular as email marketing and more popular than direct mail. And I kind of remember back in 2007, I went to a direct mail marketing meeting of nonprofit direct mail marketers, and I screamed, direct marketing is dead. And they threw tomatoes at me. But, and I never went back to one of those conferences again. And maybe it won't be dead, but it is becoming less of the only channel to reach your supporters. So back in 2003, nonprofit leaders may have thought social media is just a fad and that it would go the way of pet rocks. And no one laughed at this morning. I can't figure out why. Is it just you don't know the reference? Oh, laugh. Okay, all right. It's in the 70s. They had this thing called pet rocks. They had these boxes of rocks, and it would be your pet. I guess you'd only know it if you're a boomer, okay? So I was just trying to find a cultural reference of something that was a big fad and then died. But of course, social media has not died. It's become like air. And if we think about our own technology use, technology in the workplace, and technology use of society at large, we can see what a dramatic transformation there is between 10 years ago, 2005, and today. So I decided, even though I'm not Catholic, I'm Jewish, I thought the Pope was a great example, because the Vatican is changing with the times. But back in 2005, no one was really using cell phones or smartphones. So in 2005, when Pope Benedict came into power, in St. Peter's Square, you don't see any cell phones. You don't see that glow. But if you fast forward to 2013, when Pope Francis came to be Pope, there they are with their iPhones, their tablets, and they're probably taking pictures of this historic moment and posting it on Facebook so their friends can see. And just a couple of weeks ago, when the Pope was here, he was greeted with his own customized Pope emoji, okay? Now you know what emoji are, right? Those little picture things that people, Gen Z, the younger generation, communicates in. And even if if your nonprofit wants to reach out to that Gen Z, and you think these picture things are the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen, you need to learn how to speak emoji. Or you need to hire a younger person on staff who knows how to speak emoji and can translate for you. So, okay, so here's, in our society at large, the use of cell phones and social media is really pervasive. And if we look at the Pew Internet and American Life study over the last 12 years, they've been tracking Americans' use of technologies and the internet. There's been dramatic rises, dramatic adoption. 92% of Americans use a mobile phone. It's almost at a 100% penetration rate. You know, in other countries, they have 150% penetration rate of cell phone usage. And do you know why that is? One for the wife, one for the mistress, apparently. They have more than one cell phone. They have one for business and one for work, one for personal use. In America, we have now 72% of Americans use at least one social network, and almost 50% of Americans are using more than one network. And do you know what the one network that most Americans are using? Facebook. Okay. So, but you know what? We don't have to look at any survey statistics. All we need to really look at is our dinner tables, all right? Has your dinner table changed? I have teens. So I don't know about you, but I have teens. So I realized the hard way that now parental modeling of the use of technology is really important. And here's the story. My son, Harry, who's turning 16 tomorrow, that's why I have to leave early, and my daughter, Sarah, who's 14, well, we were out to dinner at a restaurant, and when the bill was being delivered, we all took out our cell phones, right? That's what you do when you wait. You talk to people during dinner, but maybe when you're waiting for the bill, it's permission to take out the cell phone. So they took out we're a 4 iPhone family, so they're texting under the table. I took a picture of it, and I posted it on Instagram. And within 2 minutes, my son commented on the Instagram photo. I didn't even know he had an Instagram account, okay? And you know what the comment was? Monkey see, monkey do. Okay, so if any of you are parents, you have to really rethink your parental modeling and use of technology, because that's really, really important. So just look at the dinner table to see how it's changed, or look outside your window. There's been a 35% increase in pedestrian accidents since 2010. Because people are texting and walking, they're walking into trees, walking into cars, getting cuts and bruises, traumatic head injuries, which are not funny, and even death, which is sad. And there's this new thing, it's actually been identified in the DSM-I, it's like dangerous selfies. Have you heard about this? Okay, it's mostly with younger people who are taking pictures of themselves in dangerous places, but then they're having accidents. Sadly, a 17-year-old Chinese teenager tumbled 19 stories to his death because he was photographing himself up on this building for his Instagram account, which had a series of photos of himself in dangerous positions. But that's the downside. But also there's the potential of this next generation, the so-called Gen Zs, who right now are 12 years old to about 22, 23. It's my kids. I have a little laboratory at home. And these kids are the most technology proficient there is. They spend more time online. They're using the technology, and they also care a lot about social media causes and nonprofit causes. But this is a group that has grown up not knowing what it's like to swipe, and not knowing what it's like to have a cell phone. I mean, think about it. They're very comfortable, okay? Swiping. I gave my mom, my 87-year-old mom, I handed her my iPad once, and I told her, you have to swipe. And she swiped, and she made this look like it was this most foreign thing in the world. But look at this. They're growing up with it. And they're building social capital on social networks almost at birth, okay? Maybe even before birth. And nobody laughed at this before. Maybe you didn't see the caption, but it says, "Hi, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn." Okay? So if we step back, social media's become widely adopted. It's become like air. We have a digital lifestyle. We have a digital work style. And society at large is, using social media and their cell phones. Just look at any airplane, any airport. So I think hyperconnectivity is really contributing to the state of overworked and overwhelmed that's so common in nonprofit workplaces, okay? I don't know if this is the story in your workplace, but I see it, I feel it myself. Because, nonprofits can engage with anyone, anywhere, anytime, and inspire their networks to take action for their mission. And this is amazing, okay? I've spent 25 years being an advocate for this technology. So, but I think it really comes with a great human cost of connectivity. And the problem is that we need a new mindset for individuals and for organizations as a whole. And again, being an advocate for 25 years for this technology, I'm not telling you to be Luddites, and I'm not giving you an easy out or an excuse to say we shouldn't be using this technology, or you as the executive director because it's not of your generation, and I'm with your generation too, I just look young, that it's not an excuse to opt out. Disconnecting is not an option. And you know what? We can't completely blame technology. It's not the fault of technology, okay? It's a contributing factor in my mind. In fact, this afternoon at the, during the design lab, we did a concept map of all the themes related to the talk I gave, and technology did not come up as its own bucket until we got to the end and realized, hey, we didn't talk about technology at all. So I think the problem has to do with this. It's the outdated work ethic that we have at nonprofits, okay? Many nonprofits operate, I think, with a scarcity mindset. Work, as my son says. Work, with few resources, multitasking marathons, and don't give any investment into self-care. And I think this is really an outdated work ethic that's not sustainable at all, and we need to change it. And, some of the things that I heard from the design lab is that this is going to be a hard thing to do, to change that mindset. Really hard. So for example, that we need to challenge our assumptions about self-care. Why self-care, to what end? I also learned that there's 3 types of nonprofit CEOs. That there are the nonprofit CEOs that don't believe self-care is important or is a part of productivity. There are those that believe it's important. They want their staff to take on self-care, but they don't model it themselves. And then there's those that do both. And the other thing that I learned, too, from the design lab, I'm going a little off script for those of you who are here this morning, that a lot of people who have gotten on this bandwagon have actually made a change, have done so because there's been a dramatic experience in their life. They've gotten sick, they've wound up in the hospital, somebody has died, not them, or else there's been a complete disruption of their routine. And I've also heard from younger people, like, why should I care about this self-care stuff? And I always think, gosh, I wish I had listened to my mom 30 years ago, It would have been so easy. So what I'm hoping to do in this book is answer some of these questions. I'm on the look for some of the bright spots that are out there of nonprofits that are addressing these questions, both at an individual level and also the organization as a whole. The other thing, too, that I learned from the design lab is that it's not going to be just a matter of one person in an organization, and it's not going to be just a matter of an organization creating change, that we really need to do this at a field-wide level and have funders understand this and others so that we're really shifting our mindsets to understanding that really self-care is part of our nonprofit work. So the thing I want to explore in the book are about the healthy, happy nonprofit. I think to be successful, you need two sets of skills, okay? So you need the hard skills, and we all know what these are, and there's plenty of resources out there that help nonprofits do this. I can think of dozens and dozens, strategic planning, evaluation, et cetera. But I want to support the other side, the softer side. And this morning I used the word woo-woo, okay? Because they are the soft skills. And I was challenged by somebody in the audience, and I don't think I'm going to use that word in the book, but to really justify and talk about this from the research and the science that's out there about the benefits of self-care to your nonprofit's productivity and reaching results. So I'm talking about self-care, energy replenishment management, managing technology and information overload, effective teamwork habits and communications, really addressing what are effective meetings, okay? And why are we having so many meaningless, missionless meetings that are wasting our time and our energy? And how can we be really more productive about that? And what are the best practices out there of nonprofits that are putting these to work for them, both for face-to-face meetings and also online meetings? I'm going to, with so much technology use, especially younger people, they're losing a couple abilities to have empathy and also reflection. It's kind of disappearing because of the technology use. So we need to start to incorporate that and make sure that we hold the space for that in our organizations. And I want to find organizations that are doing that and doing a great job of it. And then being able to scale healthy and happy to a whole culture and what that takes in terms of mindful leadership for the leader. What is it going to take to have all leaders, not only believing that self-care is important, but modeling that behavior every day. So I think I'm going to leave it at there, okay, and open this up for your questions. I have a lot more slides, and I could talk to them, but I think I only have just a little bit more for discussion. And make sure that you have the mic when you ask your question. And I might do this thing since I have so many slides, if you have a question, I might pop to it or not.
Beth, in a job description, you might see many of the hard skills in a job description.
Yes. Okay.
Hello. Can we put some of those soft skills in a job description? I'm thinking about having to evaluate an employee who you already tell, go home, go to lunch, don't come so early, don't stay so late. And anyway, are we going to see soft skills in a job description?
I think that's a great question. And does anyone have soft skills in a job description that they'd like to share? Yep. Well, I'm going to be on the hunt for nonprofits that have those soft skills in a job description, or maybe it'll be a corporate. I think they're becoming more and more important. Or maybe if it's not in a job description, maybe it's in your nonprofit operations manual. We also talked this afternoon about having explicit policies around, when do you reply to an email? If someone's sending an email in the middle of the night, are we required to reply to it at, 1 minute after in the middle of the night? What are our guidelines around that? And what is the culture around that? And how do we operationalize that? And more importantly, if it's not that way, how do we shift it?
Thanks. So just following up on that, what's your thinking around what it really takes to transition from a business model and organizational culture that is focused on scarcity, on overwork, to one that values and implements these soft skills? Sort of what is the process? And does it, I guess the bottom line is, does it mean doing less? And then if it does, how do we decide what to do?
That, that was the whole second half of the presentation. Okay. So the second half, you weren't here this morning, right? Okay. So this morning I went through what the pillars were of self-care, which are sleep, getting movement, because sitting is very dangerous to your health, eating properly, having some mindfulness, et cetera. And I did point out there are lots of studies out there that point out the benefits that basically say, if we're, like the old mindset is, I'll get 1 less hour of sleep and I'll get 1 more hour of productivity. But really the research shows that if you get your 7 or 8 hours of sleep, you're going to get a few more hours of productivity. And there are ways to work where you're managing your energy and working to your energy. So there's research out there, maybe it's bringing it to light. In terms about what does it get to take to change, I think that's going to be that's the other thing I wrote down from the design lab this afternoon was that it's, where was it? Oh, it's this work ethic is really so ingrained. It's really going to be hard to change. It's going to require a lot of education. It's going to require a lot of field-wide kind of inputs and focus. And because this mindset that's so ingrained is, if I work myself to death, I'm going to be successful. And I think that's what needs to shift. In my own personal story, I have a whole long thing about how I discovered this. I had a cholesterol of 399. And if you know what the numbers mean, that's pretty bad, right? And because I was not practicing self-care at my nonprofit job, working 14, 15 hours, not worrying about what I'm eating, not getting exercise, not getting enough sleep. And when I realized that, wow, I could have a heart attack and die, that's what my doctor told me, I got a Fitbit, and I started walking. I got friends on it, nonprofit colleagues. We started competing. And I started clocking my sleep. And really practicing self-care. And what happened was I brought my triglycerides down to 99. I lost 40 pounds too, but yes, yes, you're supposed to clap at that. But when something else happened, I'm sleeping more, I'm spending less time at my desk, but I'm getting way more done, and I'm writing better, and I'm feeling better. I'm so much more productive. My family is a lot more happier, and I'm like thinking, what took me so long? So that's my long-winded answer. I hope to find some examples and have that in the book, gather up the science. I hope to find nonprofits that have some examples of this at an organizational level and hear what their stories are.
Hi. I was just wondering, since you have 6 months before your book's going to be done, if
I
you
think
could,
I even have 7.
7, if you could think of new words to describe hard skills and soft skills, I would be eternally grateful.
I would be so happy too.
Yeah, because I think we kind of devalue them by using those.
So what do you think? What are
terminology.
some of your ideas for that?
I don't know. Does Brandy have an idea? I don't know. Maybe after I haven't had wine and been in a
Or
conference
maybe we
all
all
day,
need to
I
have
would
a
know,
design lab with wine,
Yeah.
Okay, we have someone in there.
You're a mind reader. Thank you very much. How about, since it's about an organization, not just people, how about results skills and success skills?
Oh, that's awesome. Let's give him a hand. And your name? What is your name?
Bob,
Bob from?
Ashland, Oregon.
Oh, I love Ashland, Oregon. I saw Shakespeare this summer.
He's been dead a while, but...
Okay. So results skills and success skills. Great. I mean, there's, I've had this endless discussion with my co-author about, do we want healthy, happy? Do we say burnout? Do we use productivity? Do we dare use the word mindfulness? Like what are the words? We're still working on that. Yes.
I was just wondering if you have noticed, I know you're early in the research phase, but if you've noticed a difference on this between organizations that are led by people of different cultural backgrounds, and if there might be things to learn from that, differences across different cultures and how that shows up in organizations.
That's actually really a great footnote for me to actually think about that. I haven't actually started that. I haven't started talking to nonprofits yet. I've been doing the literature scan about everything that's out there around happiness, habit change, mindfulness, happiness, creativity. I mean, there's amazing research that's energy management, attention management, information overload. And now, now that we have the contract and shifting now, I want to gather the stories. I haven't done that yet. Do you know of any? Have you seen any with your lens? Or anybody in the room? Okay, back there.
Question. This is actually a question. I know it's good to get funding and grants, et cetera, but sustainability is also pretty important. What do you think, or what would you, I guess, suggest are the primary keys for maintaining sustainability for your organization?
Okay, so, well, looking at this, I'm looking at that side of the equation. Okay, so I think, first of all, I think leadership is really important. As I was really surprised this afternoon to hear the story about, I'm the CEO of an organization, and I want to make sure that all of my staff is not working 15 hours a day, and if they had a hard cycle, that they take off a day, but I don't model that myself. So I think it's really important to have CEOs, the leaders actually doing it, and also at the board level to kind of shift in terms of, instead of working my CEO to death, kind of understanding this as well. I think it's really important that on this side of the equation, that you have a strategic plan, that you have a focus, that you have measurable goals, and that you have a way to measure it. Because I think maybe that part of that might be a contributing factor to us trying to do everything. More questions? Did I see some more?
I have a question, or more like a comment. And I know that a lot of people that get into the nonprofit field, and from experience, we do work a lot of hours, sometimes not necessarily because we're thinking of success or financial success, but I know when I started, I worked with Latina youth, and I really wanted them to succeed. So I would work really hard because it was a passion of mine. And a lot of us are just so passionate to work with or for the underserved that we don't really look at how much time we're putting in until we get to that place. But I think we should be talking more about compensation, and that would make a lot of people happy. Because if you're compensated well, then on those times that you can take off, you can actually take a vacation and take your family on a vacation. And so compensation is a big one.
I think you're so right on that. We should give her a hand. And I know Rusty Stahl, who was the keynote at the conference yesterday, that was a lot of what he was talking about. That young leaders are not just leaving nonprofits because of career opportunities. It's, compensation is an issue. I mean, he talks about it in terms of talent development. So, again, there's going to, as I said at the end of the lab, this is like, this is a little bit harder issue than tackling technology adoption. And maybe, writing a book doesn't mean that the whole world's going to change. I mean, I wish it would, but maybe it starts the conversation that leads to some changes. And the way that people think, and some of the things that funders fund, and the ways that nonprofits work. There's another one.
Can I just clarify the meaning of the word success?
Sure.
Success has nothing to do with results. Success comes from the word successor, successive, succeeding. It means always being in a position to continue, always having a next step. We have totally and utterly ruined the word success by having it mean something about results.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's powerful.
I want to go back a little bit to your point around leadership, because I think oftentimes when we start to talk about self-care, we immediately go to, well, how is that going to impact our outcomes? So therefore, we're thinking a lot around direct line staff, but thinking about the leadership that is here, have you found more research around what the impact on our ability to lead, our ability to support a team? Can you say more about that?
You know, that's a really good question. A part of the other work that I'm doing, I'm working right now with a cohort of environmental and conservation emerging leaders. And I've just actually released, it's a free download called the Emerging Leaders Playbook. It was funded by the David and Lucille Packard Foundation. And we're using that as a peer learning program over 6 months. And one of the, and so we did a kind of scan of what are the professional development competencies or skills that young leaders need to succeed in nonprofits. And then we also looked at what are some of the ways that nonprofits need to change to support a young leader's, instead of having a career ladder, having a career lattice, so they're a little bit more flexible. So through this field scan, I've put together curriculum, and one of the pieces of it, there's actually a whole section on mindfulness, self-management. And so, there is research out there about the importance or for leaders to be centered, to be focused, and to actually have these mindfulness skills so that they can lead and they don't let their emotions or their exhaustion lead them. So that is an important piece.
One more question.
Beth, I'm giving a presentation next month to the International Association for Organizational Development Professionals on the mindful organization. And the research I've done has been in the for-profit world, and with very compelling data on how mindfulness impacts productivity and health and all that kind of stuff. So I have no doubt that that would translate to the nonprofit world as well. So I think there's a lot of data out there, and I think it's great that you're raising the awareness of this, and people will see when they start implementing this stuff that it's going to work and make them successful all around.
That's great. And your name again?
Elisa Blum.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
I'm flipping through these slides really quickly because I wanted to get to the last piece here, which has a URL. I don't know if you can see this. It's a bit.ly/healthymp. That's a form that, if you have a story or if you have some insights or if you have doing something in your organization that's related to this whole idea of a healthy, happy nonprofit, I want to talk to you. So, make a note, go up there. You can actually pull out your smartphone, fill it out on your smartphone. And if you want to take a look at some of the resources that I've collected already, I've put together my slides and links to different research and resources that I've collected so far. And just want to thank you all. This has been amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beth. And do you want your water?
Oh, that's right. That's helpful.
Or I can stay hydrated.
Right. Yes, I'm dashing to the plate.
I know.
Thank you.
I know. Join me again in thanking Beth Cantor. So she's going to get a few more steps on her Fitbit. Right. Okay. Right. So some really useful takeaways, I think, for all of us. And if you notice on your tables, there's one of these little boxes. There should be enough for most everybody. These are courtesy of our friends at Kaiser Permanente. And if you open them up, what you're going to find in there is a little pedometer. So we want to encourage all of you to take an opportunity and use these to track your own self-care and self-health, and have an opportunity to take on some of the suggestions that Beth gave to us all. So I want to talk to you just briefly, and hopefully this will be not too long or boring for you, but I want to talk a little bit about what NAO has been doing and some of the comment on some of the ideas that Beth put forward about hard skills and soft skills, which I now see we're going to call, what was it, Bob? Results and success. Okay. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a couple of a different way of maybe framing some of those around healthy governance and strategy, healthy systems, healthy employees, healthy networks, and a healthy community. And I want to give you a little bit of a background of what we've been doing at NAO for the last year and what we're doing as we move forward into our future. This year, around healthy governance and strategy, we adopted the independent sector's principles for good governance and ethical practice. These are 33 well-researched, well-thought-through principles that any nonprofit should be able to support. Nonprofits all across the country adopted these in 2009, and there was a refreshment of those that took place in February of this year. We became the promotional partner for Oregon with independent sector, and we've been working to distribute and also talk about principles of good governance and ethical practice. This is basically, one very small step above your regulatory requirements as a nonprofit. But we think that they're important because they start to incorporate ideas around how you can think about core values and how you can think about some of these success factors that Beth was just talking about. We at NAO continue to be interested in issues around effective organizations and sustainable organizations. I participated in a really interesting discussion yesterday as part of the Alliance conference around sustainability frameworks that the Alliance is leading through one of their cohort groups. And I think there's going to be some exciting work coming out from them coming up soon around how nonprofit sustainability, and it was interesting because there was a lot of give and take in the room and a lot of discussion around is it really resilience, or is it relevance, or what is the right word? And I think it's going to continue to be something that we all think about as organizations in how we want to promote healthy governance structures and healthy strategies within our nonprofits. Our own team, as many of you know, our consulting team, our training folks that work with our training, our associated consultants are deeply engaged in this work all across Oregon, and we really appreciate the work that they've been doing, and we continue to be pushing out around the state and looking for new ways to incorporate ideas around how nonprofits can healthfully and thoughtfully govern and think about their strategies. NAO's financial health, I'm happy to report, is pretty good right now. You have in front of you a little mini annual report that, or maybe you got it at the front desk. It may not be in front of you, but you can take a quick look through that. We continue to be in a good financial position, and in this, you'll also see some highlights of some of the things that we've accomplished this last year. I'm not going to go through those in any depth, but I just wanted to kind of highlight those out to you and give you a sense of where some of the things that we're working on relative to healthy governance and strategy. About healthy systems, we conduct every year a 5-state survey with the other 4 states in the Northwest. We have an affinity group, a cohort that we've built through the support of the M.J. Murdoch Charitable Trust, and this group came up with this amazingly long name, the Northwest State Association Affinity Group. So instead, we decided to call ourselves the Swarm, and this is an initiative that started several years ago. back before I became an ED at NAO, and we've seen a transition in leadership across these 5 different organizations, but the core principles and the core basics of what we're doing together have stayed and have grown. And in that 5-state survey that we conducted last year, and we'll be conducting again soon, so I hope you'll all fill that out, we found that that fewer nonprofits have reserves than even just last year. Nonprofits are spending their reserves or not putting away as much, and that's a concerning trend that we want to dive into a little bit more and understand what's happening. Are they investing more? Are we now out of the recession and we're seeing organizations think about their investments in a different way, but they're not putting as much away as they used to? And that's across every different size organization. So we're going to be continuing to look into some of those issues and better understand what are the systems that can keep nonprofits healthy, and what can we do as the state association to encourage and keep that work moving forward. We also know, it's been reported numerous times, and there have been specific conversations all throughout the Alliance Conference around the transition, the tsunami, the silver tsunami, the transition of leadership from the boomer generation to the next generations of leaders. We are seeing that upon us now. The amount of transitions that our executive transition services team is involved in is growing by leaps and bounds, and we're seeing greater and greater numbers of organizations realizing they need help, they need to figure out how they're going to make these transitions, and it's not just at the executive director level. It's that the development directors are moving on, the CFOs are moving on. So we have been really thinking about how do we partner to be able to support those kinds of initiatives. And we created a unique partnership with CFO Selections in trying to support CFO changeovers and interims to be able to help nonprofits throughout Oregon, as CFO Selections is based out of Seattle but has now come to Oregon and has a team here. And if you, I think they may have left already, but they were here earlier today talking to some of the Alliance folks. We are also really excited about a partnership that we're building with the Foundation Center, and I'm happy to announce tonight that we're going to be putting together a member discount for our members that'll gain them some incredibly powerful tools and data sets to help in their fundraising with foundations. The Foundation Center has done some fantastic work, particularly here in Oregon, and unfortunately Davis couldn't be with us here tonight. She's not feeling well, but Davis Parchment, the Foundation Center person here in Oregon, has a larger remit, but she has deeply worked here in Oregon to get Oregon foundations to put their data into the Foundation Center database. And I think that we have a great opportunity now to help push that information out to nonprofits, to give them a better opportunity to find the right organizations that can support them into their future. So looking for that, systemic linkages to keep nonprofits healthy there. We continue to be committed in our own internal healthy systems. We've engaged in a partnership with Public Interest Management Group on working on the success factors analysis with 20 Oregon organizations, testing a new methodology for assessing organizational health. It was a pilot test. The pilot has now been written up, and we're interested to see how that gets published, pushing that out further around the state. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cliff. Keeping me healthy. What a great guy. I should have kept Beth's water. So we're incredibly excited about continuing to support nonprofits and how they develop their healthy systems and move forward in their own work. Healthy employees. So that was a major topic, as we just heard, that Beth was talking us about. The ability for all of us to take on the mantle of making sure that we keep ourselves healthy, that we encourage our staff to be healthy, to encourage healthy practices, is vitally important to the health of our nonprofits and to the communities that they then serve. So we deeply value our partnerships with organizations like Heffernan and Propel Insurance Companies, supporting strong nonprofits across Oregon. We are also very happy to announce a new partnership with Nonstop Wellness around a program to help Oregon nonprofits with their to be able to offer exclusively to NAO members based on this Nonstop Wellness plan, which will also be available to larger nonprofits, but it'll reduce or eliminate employee out-of-pocket expenses and co-pays. And the benefit, we think, to nonprofits here in Oregon is going to be significant. So the Insure Oregon Nonprofits program is officially launched and live now. We're engaging now in the pilot, and we really appreciate the work that Nonstop's team has done. And I want to just acknowledge David Sloves and his team for working with us to develop this innovative program. David, if you want to just raise your hand there so we can see you. The program is for organizations between 5 and 50 employees and is new in Oregon, and it's actually new in the country. It was a conversation that we held with them to figure out how best to help nonprofits provide a benefit to their staff to keep them well. We're very excited to be a part of this, and I'm really interested to see how in the next year that develops with all of you, and I hope that you'll have an opportunity to talk to the Nonstop team about that. Healthy networks. So we're here today with the Alliance for Nonprofit Management. We're here at PSU with the team from the Nonprofit Management Institute. We appreciated the opportunity to bring the national conference, the Alliance for Nonprofit Management, here to Portland and to be able to then broadcast some of that work around the state. We're currently have people video linked in from around the state. I probably should have let everyone know we have people watching right now from all over the state. We have been really excited about the opportunity that bringing national leaders and national thinkers around what nonprofits need and what nonprofits can do to both hear from them, but also to challenge them and give them ideas back. I think what you just saw with Beth holding a learning lab all day and actually hearing from the lessons learned that you all have collected in your work and giving that back to the ability for her to write that in a book and talk about it is incredibly powerful. And we're very excited by that kind of networking and working to help keep learnings moving forward across our sector. Too many times we, gather up our good work and we kind of hold it close in because it becomes something that is, intellectual property, and we want to protect it and we want to be able to fundraise around it. But so much of what we do has to be given over to the public benefit. So we're extremely excited about that partnership and other partnerships and networks that NAO continues to be involved in. I mentioned the Northwest, the Swarm, the nonprofit cohort that we're involved in. We're very excited this year to celebrate what will be the 20th year of our Equity and Inclusion Leaders Network here in Portland. Later in November, we're going to have a special celebration just for that. But that's important work that we feel is going to continue well into the future for us. We also have our Nonprofit Finance Managers Association, which just celebrated its 25th year here. So those kinds of networks, those opportunities to bring to you different ideas and different skill sets and knowledge is going to be a continued part of our work moving forward. I do want to mention that we have now over 1,000 members of NAO. In fact, as of September 30th, when we kind of cut off the date, because that's our fiscal year, we had 1,046 members. And our 1,000th member, we thought, was well worth highlighting. Unfortunately, they could not be here tonight, but they did send us some thoughts about what they're doing and how they felt it was important to be a part of the network that is NAO. So our 1,000th member is the Clatsop Community Action out in Astoria, Oregon, out by the coast. Their mission is to help people to meet housing, food, and other basic living needs. And they passed along this important thought about what it is that they wanted to share, their reason for joining NAO. And their director of social services is Elaine Bruce, and she said, the nonprofit world is dynamic with evolving state and national laws that CAA needs to keep abreast of, involving transparency, financial management, employment law, funding streams, donor fluctuations, and best practices for community services. CAA looks to NAO for leadership, trends, publications, and other resources to stay current. We really appreciated that our 1,000th member would be an organization that has such a deep dedication to their community that they're not a Portland-based organization, although we very deeply appreciate our Portland-based organizations. We just thought it was amazing and coincidental that the organization that became our 1,000th, it's kind of like in the grocery store when the balloons fall for the millionth, customer. We just thought it was really amazing that the group from Astoria would be that 1,000th organization to find that value proposition in NAO. I also want to make you aware of another network opportunity that I hope all of you will in some way participate in. So we've been working with a whole group of organizations. It's been primarily led by WVDO, the Willamette Valley Development Officers, around the Oregon's Give Day. And the hashtag you can find is Oregon Gives. It's going to take place on Giving Tuesday. There is a website up, and we would deeply encourage all of you to become a part of that and support that initiative. We want to see philanthropy grow in Oregon. We want to see assets be pushed out around the state and to be able to get additional funding for all of our nonprofits. And so we thought it was an important part for us to play in working together with a collaborative to try to bring that out to all of the Oregon nonprofits, and particularly to people who may not know what other opportunities there are out there to give to different kinds of nonprofits. So I hope that you all get a chance to look up the Oregonians Give. And if you want, you can look on our website, but also we have some little stickers that are flying around, so you can grab one of those. And we look forward to continuing to be a part of that and push more information out as we get closer to Giving Tuesday. I want to just wrap up here by talking a little bit about healthy Oregon communities. So, as you know, we believe that healthy nonprofits are the foundation of our communities, and healthy communities respond when there's crisis and tragedy. And we all know that just last Thursday, we in Oregon had a pretty significant tragedy take place. And it's a tragedy not only for those lives that were lost and those lives that were touched by what happened, but it's a tragedy for our mental health capacities. It's a tragedy for us as a society that we see a confluence of hopelessness and sometimes poverty come together in whether it's a rural environment or whether it's an urban environment that lead people to have these kinds of tragic outcomes in a community. And we have been working to help support a group of nonprofits who were some of the first organizations to respond. We always know that there's the first responders, the police, the fire department, the people who are there right on the scene right away to help with the tragic aftermath of something like a shooting incident or a natural disaster. But we know that the recovery, that the care, that the feeding, that the thought, that the continued support to the community will go many, many years into the future. And so we're very deeply supporting the UCC Strong initiative that's been started by the UCC campus folks, by the United Way of Greater Douglas County and the Ford Family Foundation have pulled together and are working very hard to help people understand how they can continue to help the the community of Roseburg and Greater Douglas County long into the future. And it was amazing to see how a group of folks who themselves didn't have a lot of experience in doing this kind of work realized that the way to tackle the situation was to reach out to each other, reach out to the support organizations like NAO, like Grantmakers of Oregon Southwest Washington, Philanthropy Northwest. I've been on calls every day since last Thursday, working with that team of folks down there. And it's amazing to now see the ability that they have to bring together coordination and to start being able to think about how into the future they're going to support Roseburg for what is now really a changed paradigm for that community. So I hope you all get a chance to go on to either the United Way of Greater Douglas County's website. We're going to post this tomorrow. I've already got an email into Brad. Here it is. Get it up. And we're really inspired by what the folks down there on the ground are doing. And that's what nonprofits are about. They're about community. They're about supporting each other. They're about supporting the people who, at their moments of joy and their moments of deep, deep sadness. So we're really inspired by them. So I just wanted to give you that as a final thought. And I want to turn it over now to Chris Otis, the chair of NAO's Governance Committee, to talk a little bit about our incoming board.
Wow, Nancy, I know what you meant about the microphone. Good evening, and just thank you, Jim, for your comments about, and your leadership, really, on behalf of NAO and our support for our colleagues and our fellow Oregonians in Roseburg. As an organization that has staff in the area, we have been very concerned, and I was so proud of NAO to see us reaching out to unite the community around them, so thank you for that. Okay, so on to the moment you've been waiting for. This is the introduction of your 2016 NAO Board of Directors. I have had the pleasure and the privilege of chairing the Governance Committee and working alongside some fabulous board member colleagues as we sorted through, thank you to all of you, a lot of amazing candidates for the board this year. I'm happy to welcome back a number of returning board members and very happy to tell you that we are adding this year to our roster 5 new board members, all of whom bring different perspective, representing different geography, and a lot of different ideas and energy to our work. So without further ado, I'm going to run the roster, and I think I'm supposed to ask you to stand as I say your name. I think most folks are here this evening. And then you need to hold all that thunderous applause until I get to the end of the roster. Nancy Ramirez Arriaga, I think you've already met Nancy. She's also the vice chair of our board. Nancy is a consultant here in Portland. Kathy Collins is a new board member joining us. She's the executive director at the Treasure Valley Relief Nursery in Ontario. So she's bringing new ideas and perspective and a time zone all of her own to our work. Eloise Damrosch, are you here? There you are. Who's the executive director for the Regional Arts and Culture Council. She's here in Portland and was very supportive and a member of the governance committee along with me. Thank you, Eloise. Marilyn Hartzog, joining us as a new board member. Marilyn is a consultant here in Portland, and she's got a resume that would knock your socks off. So we're so happy to have you joining us, Marilyn. Chris Crank, down here in front, who is our current board chair, is the executive director for Albertina Kerr Centers. Thank you for all your leadership, Chris. Bob Lieberman, where I know you're here, from Kairos, down in Grants Pass. Another portion of our state represented on the board. Thank you, Bob. Ross Laybourne, I know you're there somewhere, way in the back, who is a retired attorney from Portland, a returning board member. Ian Lombard, I know Ian was here. Ian is a returning and at-large board member here in Portland. Are you still here, Ian? All right, you're a tall guy. If you were standing, we'd see you. Michelle Neal, who is an at-large member from Portland as well. She is not here this evening. She was a great support on the governance committee as well. Rick Nitti is our immediate past chair. Rick is the executive director at Neighborhood House in Portland. Someone named Chris Otis, that would be me. I'm the executive director for SMART, Start Making a Reader Today. Mac Pritchard joins us as a brand new board member. Mac is the owner of Pritchard Communications. You may also know him from Mac's List. And we are so excited to have all of your expertise around communications joining us on the board. Thank you, Mac. Jen Rusk, where are you, Jen? Who is development director and consultant out in Bend, a returning board member. Thank you, Jen. Brad Russell. Brad is a new board member joining us from the Rogue Valley Family YMCA. Brad is from Medford. Welcome, Brad. I didn't get to meet you during the process, but my colleagues had amazing things to say about you, so we're so happy to have you joining us. Claire Seguin, who is maybe joining us via Skype. Hello, Claire. Claire is a returning board member from Salem. She's with the Oregon Housing and Community Services. Andrea Schofield, who is a new board member, joining us from Cheshire, which I thought I knew the state pretty well, given a statewide organization, but was introduced to new geography through Andrea, who is the executive director at Camp Lutherward. Thank you for joining us. And Brandy Tuck. Where are you, Brandy? Who's a returning board member, and she is the executive director for the Portland Family Homeless Solutions. So I'm happy to present our 2016 Board of Directors, and on behalf of all of the board members, I would say it is our pleasure and it is our privilege to serve you. And I think now my notes say I'm supposed to introduce Chris Crank for the Chris Crank Show.
Good evening. You're all still awake? We're getting near the end here, so just hang in there. I want to take this opportunity. It's a real privilege to be the president of the board of NAO. It's a real honor, and you've seen some of my colleagues up at the podium already, and I know that the ones who are sitting in the audience who I've worked with for a while, and the new folks, we're going to be dangerous next year. We're going to have a great year, so look forward to it. I want to take this moment to go a little off script too. I want to thank Jim White. I've been on the board since 2012, and my organization, Albertina Kerr, was a charter member of NAO when it started in 2010, I think. And Jim's been with us into his, 3 years. And it only seems like about 30 to him, I know, but we've come a long way since I joined. Our membership is, I think, twice as large as it was when I started on the board. So we've got a great deal of momentum, and I think that's attributable, although the board does fine work, to Jim and his staff, and many of the staff are here today too. So I'd like to take a moment to thank and congratulate them. They're a pleasure to work with, and they make board service really very easy. I've got the privilege of acknowledging a couple of people, and neither one of them were able to join us today. Tonya Graham, who is the executive director of GEOS Institute in Ashland, served on the board for 4 years, and is the outgoing treasurer and chair of the finance committee. And as Jim reported, our finances are in good shape, and Tonya had a lot to do with oversight of that, as well as, of course, Jim's staff. Second person I want to acknowledge is Mark Langseth, who is the executive director of the I Have a Dream Foundation in Oregon. He has been on the board for 5 years and is rotating off, and is the outgoing chair of NAO's Public Policy Committee. So, in absentia, maybe Tonya and Mark are watching. We could clap for them. In absentia. Now, this next item that I was assigned to do is sort of bittersweet. We're saying goodbye to NAO's longest-serving employee, and someone that's near and dear to all of us. And after nearly 30 years with NAO and its former organizational entity, TAX, she's a senior consultant, Guadalupe, and I'm going to blow it, Guadalupe, Guajardo. I can't roll the R well. I'm going to work on that. But she is leaving NAO and taking a leadership role in her religious order. We're really proud of the work that she's done through NAO to enrich the lives of all Oregonians. So please join me in applauding her many years of outstanding service to Oregon nonprofits and nonprofit leaders. Well, that's a good indication of her respect. Before I give her the microphone, which she can have for as long as she wants it, she's going to say a few words, and I want to ask the members of LACE to stand. LACE? You're going to be in? Okay, so I won't do that, excuse me. I'm out of order. But I do want to present this token of our appreciation from NAO for your service. So, thank you. One more time. It's all yours. Thank you.
You took my notes. I don't like competition, but I'm going to have a little competition with this podium. Thank you. Part of my spiritual practice is to express gratitude. And I want to acknowledge, recognize, and thank many of you who are here this evening. And I want to call you out in groupings for being part of holding me up during these 30 years of my nonprofit career with TAX and NAO. So I'd like those who are my past coworkers when we were TAX to stand. And that's Kay and Donish and Jan. And then I'd like my current coworkers to, and Bob, and my current coworkers to stand. You can just wave your hand and people know who you are. And I want to call out clients. I'm here to be of service. So I have had clients for 30 years, and many of you have been part of cohorts. So would you also stand? Thank you. And also my colleagues. Many of my colleagues are here. That's Bill, Shari. I would consider you colleagues, Paula. And there are people who are partners. Some of you are funding partners. I don't know if any of you are here. Anyway, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for, I'm going to look at my notes, because I want to say thanks for your gifts of inspiration, blessings, learnings, friendships, networkings, shared hardships, and many, many laughs over this wonderful career. So thank you. Okay. You can have your seat again. Thank you. Yes, I'm saying goodbye, but not to worry, because nonprofits are being left in good hands. For the past 4 years, NAO has been working on a plan to ensure the continuation of my work. Statistics show that demographically, by 2060, 30% of U.S. females will be Latinas. NAO is here to help all nonprofits stay relevant and current in this demographic shift. So we call this program that we've been working on and that we've created LACE. And I'm going to ask the LACE members who are here to come on up. So I want to introduce you to them. One is sitting in the back. So LACE stands for Latina Associates for Collaborative Endeavors. These brilliant women serve as advisors, mentors, coaches, facilitators, consultants, and trainers. I also want to call Janelle Cully up. And these are 5 of 13 Latina Associates for Collaborative Endeavor. They couldn't all be here, but I wanted you to meet these wonderful, brilliant women. And before we give them a round of applause, I want to also tell you, when you call NAO, Janelle is the person who will take your call, and she will help connect your nonprofit's needs with their skills and their availability. So know, again, you're going to be in wonderful hands as I depart NAO, and please give our LACE members an applause. Thank you. And now I just have a few parting words. My parting words, after 30 years, I've served in many capacities as a senior consultant, but most of all, I feel that I have served as a healer. Why? Because nonprofit work at its core is about healing and repairing the world, making it a better place for all of us now and for generations to come. And it's my mission and been my mission to facilitate in any way that I can the full development of the human potential. My parting blessing is to bestow on all of you the strength, courage, and grace to hold this concept in your heart so that it will feed and nourish your heart and soul for the long journey. Thank you. I turn it over to Jim now. Thank you.
We are truly the long and short of it, aren't we? One minor correction I should make is that, nobody truly ever really leaves NAO. So, and Kay Soul can probably attest to that for how many times she gets emails and, well, can you train on this? And can you write up a curriculum to talk about the OMB Super Circular so that we can, so we know that we will continue to have Guadalupe in our family of associated folks who are going to be able to reach out and to help all of you well into the future. But we also appreciate that she has this amazing opportunity to move into a leadership position with her order, and we're very excited for her for the future. So thank you so much for your service, Guadalupe. Well, that brings us to the close of our program tonight, and I just want to again thank all of our members, 1,046, and that's as of September. We've got well over what, Jessica? 1,057 as of today. So we're just going to keep going, and we're going to keep serving, and we're going to keep helping all of you well into the future. I want to thank our sponsors again. If somebody will click a clicker. There we go. Our annual meeting sponsors. Again, their support is fantastic to us and to all of you to help us support your causes and your mission. And our foundation sponsors throughout the year. We continue to build new relationships outside of Oregon, hopefully to bring more support to nonprofits into Oregon. I also want to make sure that I really thank our staff. Without the NAO staff team, it would be impossible to do our work. So I want to ask them again to stand, if they would. all the amazing things that they do around the state, the very different types of jobs that they have, from senior consultants going deep dive. And Bob, you need to stand too. Where is he? Yeah, Bob, you're kind of temporarily, we're stuck with you. Doing interim work, training rural nonprofits, advising, holding resource roundups, working to build our membership and support them. Our fantastic new communications coordinator who has helped launch us into a whole new age of Twitter and Instagram and things that the rest of us are like, what, huh? So I just really want to thank you all and the amazing work that it took behind the scenes to pull this off. I also want to make sure I call out Amy Callahan, who unfortunately can't be here tonight due to a family emergency, but she was very instrumental in pulling this conference together. So I just wanted to mention her in particular. And thank you all. I appreciate your deep service, and I have deep gratitude for all of you, so thank you. That concludes our 2015 annual meeting. Thank you all for coming.